Are the Irish government trying to tamper with elections and information? Hear me out on this one. I've just read an article where the Irish government is going to get involved with big tech in Ireland to basically cr- uh, crack down on disinformation, especially coming up to elections in Ireland. Now, it really gets my spidey senses tingling whenever I hear government disinformation and big tech giants. For me personally, whenever I hear those three phrases put together, I think, oh, here we go again, another crack at tyranny. And the ironic thing about this is for the past couple of years now, say from 2020 right up until now, these people have told us to follow the science, that it's okay to get this liquid to stop a thing that's been put into the bracket of a common flu. And yes, those face nappies work. Follow the science. But if you go to them with a scientific fact like there's only two sexes, male and female, these same people that tell you to follow the science will say that you're wrong. So then you have to question who's the one promoting disinformation. All in all, the government should stay out of it. And here is my view on this. If there's anybody watching this from the left right now, you need to understand this. The reason why you're losing is because your ideas are so wacky and they're so wrong that nobody in their right mind would ever adopt these ideas. And the fact that they are being adopted at the minute and implemented into society is a clear indication on how society is seen today. It's crumbling around us, not because of my ideas or the good people's ideas, it's because of your ideas and the fact that you are basically implementing these whack job ideologies into society, open door policies, radical ideologies with kids in school. And yeah, what you're doing right now is you're reaping what you sow. Don't point the finger at people like me who have a thing called logic and say, well, it's your fault that the world's crumbling. No, it's not a coincidence that these whack job leftist ideologies have been implemented all around the West, and you're actually seeing the West crumbling right now. So it's not a matter of cracking down on misinformation or disinformation. It's about adopting the right policies for each country and implementing them and actually working with them fully and properly. And the only time you crack down on that and say crack down on disinformation is whenever you know that you're 100% wrong. So the Irish government is doing this art. We're going to read an article in just a little minute. The the Irish government know that they're wrong. So what they want to do is the people that are right, like the logical people of Ireland, they're trying to crack down on their voices so they won't be heard. So then the wacky is just heard. So all the whack jobs can promote as much as disinformation and misinformation as they like. You know, this is coming off the back of a landslide referendum. It was that bad, Leo Varadkar had to quit his job. You have TDs all across Fine Gael quitting left, right, and centre because of not disinformation, but legitimate information coming out into the public domain by good people of Ireland that have exposed a lot that's going on, i.e., corruption. So, what I'm trying to say is before you read this article, and I don't mean to build you up to it like this, but I'm really hard not to do it like this. You really need to know this. They're not cracking down on disinformation or misinformation. They're cracking down on the right information. And you need to know this. There's a thing called good idea and a bad idea. Good ideas always rise to the top. Even if a bad idea is implemented for a very long time, a good idea will always rise to the top. And you do not need anything to censor what you may deem a bad idea or a good idea, because a good idea will always rise to the top. And that good idea will then take over and society will come into a balance again. What the Irish government have realised now is that good ideas are rising to the top. There's political parties popping up left, right, and centre. One of these smaller parties could run Ireland better than they could. They realise that. So their next step of attack, because I see this as an attack on the people and their voice, is to completely censor what they deem as disinformation. But you need to know it's not disinformation, it's legitimate information. Some of it might be wrong, but they don't want you hearing any of this, because then that could sway you in a vote, a referendum that's not going to benefit them and their corrupt ways. Government seeks pre-election pact with tech giants amid supercharged disinformation threats. Threats deeply corrosive to our democratic disclosure are focus of EU and domestic legislation. The government will seek a pre election pact with technology giants to counter disinformation in the face of supercharged threats in advance of local European and general elections to be held in the next 12 months. Minister for Housing Dara O'Brien and Minister of State Malcolm Noonan have written to the lobby group for some of the largest tech multinationals operating in Ireland, asking them to talks later this month, warning of threats that are deeply corrosive to our democratic disclosure. The companies will be asked to sign up to a new Irish election integrity accord on the eve of elections to come after the largest period in the history of the state without a multi-wide party political contest being held, the ministers wrote to Technology Ireland. A range of EU and domestic laws have been passed or are in train to attempt to counter the threats of disinformation and misinformation interfering online in the electoral process. So, yeah, basically, they want to get a hold of the big tech giants and say, look, anytime there is an election and it's got to do with, say, a referendum, and maybe this is coming off the back of the referendum, that the landslide referendum that they lost when it came to, they tried to change the definition of a mother. They try to bring in durable relationships. They spun a whole story about that. Sinn Féin done a big U-turn because they realized that they were going to lose loads of votes on that. And what they really want here is, what they really are looking for here is just say, implement that referendum now with this process. Well, then it would inhibit people like me from breaking down what they're trying to change in the Constitution, give you the facts about that, and they would only be able to spin their narrative. That's what they want. So they realize that they're losing all the referendums. They've probably got a ton of referendums in the future that they want to have. They probably want to change a lot of stuff in the Constitution to bring further tyranny onto Ireland. And they don't want anybody speaking up about this. They want, they realize now that the Irish people, when it comes on the global scale of things, we are on the forefront for fighting for our freedoms. There is nobody on earth right now doing what the Irish are doing. And once again, the Irish find themselves in a tyrannical situation. It was once the British. Now it's our own. It's our own. The people who govern us, the so-called Irish nationalists, and these people are trying to open our borders. They're trying to change our population. They're trying to indoctrinate our children. And what they want is basically people like me to not be able to speak. So, for instance, if I make a video and I give you correct information on something that they're trying to change, that could possibly sway your vote to a no. You'll vote no and they'll not get what they want. So they want my videos to be censored. So if I drop a video on said subject, it gets taken off the platform or it doesn't reach anybody at all. That's what they're looking for here. And this is what, on a side note, this is them showing who they really are. So the cat's out of the bag. They realize this. The cat is completely 100% out of the bag. And for anybody that's awake, you'll know that your government has turned tyrannical. You know what they're trying to do to you. So the way they see it, well, what's the point of keeping this mask on or pretending to keep this mask on? Let's just legislate and get everything in here now. So then it'll get to the point where they won't be able to vote us out. Because trust me, if something like this comes in, then what you're dealing with here is, just say there's an election. I can't give you the facts coming up to an election. I just have to spin the government's narrative. Yeah, sure, I can go on to X, but then you have X towing the line when it comes to the Irish government. They're taking down posts from X users in Ireland. I'm in a bit of a weird space in the north, but it won't be too long before it comes up here. So you need to really have a hard no in this. They're not asking for a referendum for this, folks. They're not saying to you, we're going to get your vote on this. They're saying we're going to the big tech giants and we're going to tell them you must censor information when it comes up to elections and referendums. So what this should warrant here is mass protests all across Ireland so they don't censor anybody's voice. And as I say, if somebody's talking shite, it'll be out of the shite. As it stands, there's many things that I say that I get wrong. I'll always come out and say, listen, well, I was a wee bit wrong about that. But the bulk of what I speak about, I think I'm telling the truth. And there's a lot of us out here trying our best, and they know that we're getting more eyeballs on us than they're getting on them. So whenever they speak, it's falling on deaf ears. Whenever we speak, yous are listening. And I'm really trying not to give you any disinformation. It just so happens the information I'm giving to you is so wacky and it's so explosive, and it's exposing the corruption in the Irish political system that it's the truth. They're corrupt. They're trying to change your constitutions. They're trying to take your rights away. They've opened your borders. Ireland's the easiest touch in the whole wide world. There's people from all around the world coming in with no IDs, none of that. And it's all, they want me not to say those things. They want you locked in a box like 2020, trust the science, wear the face snappy, everything's a-okay. Don't worry about this, don't worry about that. Just vote this way, vote that way. That's what they want. But no, what we say is no, it's not happening. Because if you take me out, somebody's going to replace me, because the cat's out of the bag now. If you take Michael O'Keefe out, if you take that person out, if you take her out, if you take these people out, it's going to be replaced because the ball is rolling. It's too late. Pandora's box has opened. And we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to speak the truth. And if we make a mistake, we will own up to our mistakes. Something that the Irish government and the political systems all around the world do not do. Whenever they make a mistake, they do not own up to their mistakes. I'm wrong about a lot of stuff, but now I know to do my due diligence. Now I know how to word things, and that's what they want to stop. They don't want you getting the correct information. So there needs to be a voice out here saying, look, no, you're not doing this. You're not doing this. So the protests and all the rest, yes, it's good, protest against immigration, but you will not have the ability to protest against immigration if something like this comes in. I'm just letting you know that. That's what I have for you today, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and peace.